Bridges are meant to connect, to carry us safely over rivers, valleys, and roads. But some bridges in the United States do not carry only the living. They hold the echoes of tragedy, the shadows of the restless, and the whispers of lives cut short. Many have been scenes of untimely deaths, strange accidents, and unexplainable events. At night, when the mist rolls in and the world grows silent, these bridges awaken. Ghostly figures appear at the edges, footsteps echo where no one walks, and cold hands brush against travelers who never see the source. Tonight, we cross 20 of the most haunted bridges in America. Places where darkness lingers and history refuses to rest. Bridges carry more than just weight. They carry memories, pain, and sometimes, spirits that refuse to move on. Across the United States, haunted bridges have earned reputations for strange sounds, ghostly apparitions, and tragic histories. Some were the site of accidents that claimed lives. Others became silent witnesses to murders or suicides. And a few simply drew the attention of the unseen, places where the living and the dead intersect in ways impossible to explain. Travelers and locals alike report the same chilling encounters. Sudden cold chills. Whispers calling their names. And shadows that vanish when looked at directly. Doors and railings creak for no reason. Footsteps echo over planks and arches when no one else is present. And at times, figures appear at the edge, watching silently before disappearing into the night. These bridges do not just haunt, they remember. Every tragedy leaves a mark. Every soul lingers. As we journey through these 20 haunted bridges, imagine yourself standing on one of these spans at night. The wind whistles through the cables, the water below shimmers in the moonlight, and a fog slowly rolls in. You feel eyes upon you. You hear whispers. You see movement at the corner of your vision. Before we cross the first bridge, ask yourself these: if you were alone on a bridge rumored to be haunted, would you dare take the first step? The Bridge of No Return stands quietly in the valleys of Pennsylvania, a structure steeped in history and shadowed by tragedy. Built for early settlers to cross the river, it was once a lifeline, connecting families and communities across the flowing waters. The bridge's name carries a grim legacy, earned after a deadly flood swept through the village long ago, claiming the lives of several travelers who had crossed at the wrong time. The river beneath continues to move with a quiet insistence, as if holding the memory of those lost within its currents. During the day, the bridge appears unassuming. Its aged wood creaks underfoot. And the stone supports show signs of time and weathering. Moss clings to the foundations. And the surrounding forest presses close. Leaves brushing against the rails with each gust of wind. The air is rich with the scent of damp earth and the faint, metallic tang of the river below. The sounds of flowing water are constant. A reminder of the force that once claimed so many lives. Yet in daylight, the bridge feels safe, almost serene. A place suspended between memory and the present. As fog rolls in from the river, the atmosphere of the bridge transforms. Visibility drops, and the familiar landscape becomes blurred and uncertain. On nights like these, locals say the cries for help begin. The sounds are faint at first, barely audible above the rush of the river, yet unmistakable to those who listen closely. They rise and fall like distant echoes, carrying the urgency and fear of those swept away generations ago. It is a sound that unsettles even the most skeptical, an auditory remnant of tragedy that refuses to fade. Figures are sometimes seen on the bridge itself, appearing and vanishing with the mist. Travelers report fleeting glimpses of people standing silently along the railing. Some seem to stare out across the river, while others look directly at those who cross. As if attempting to communicate a warning that can never fully be understood. These apparitions linger for only moments before fading into the fog. Leaving a lingering chill and the impression that the bridge is watched by those who never left. The sensation of presence is often accompanied by physical phenomena. Some who venture onto the bridge have felt icy hands resting lightly on their shoulders. A brief but startling touch that disappears as quickly as it arrives. Others sense a pressure in the air, a weight that presses against the chest as if unseen eyes are observing and guiding. It is a reminder that the bridge is not merely a crossing for the living, but a place where the past continues to interact with the present, a conduit for memory and warning that spans centuries. The surrounding landscape adds to the bridge's haunting character. The river moves swiftly beneath, reflecting the fog in shimmering ripples that obscure the depths below. Wind whistles through the trees and across the wooden planks, carrying sounds that might be natural or perhaps the echoes of the past. Every creak of the bridge, every splash of water, becomes part of a symphony that heightens the sense of isolation and awareness. Visitors often describe a gradual awareness of the bridge's history as they cross. Each step on the weathered wood feels deliberate, each glance along the rail draws attention to the fog and the shadows within it. There is a sense that the bridge itself remembers, that the stories of the flood and the villagers who perished remain embedded in its structure. The combination of sound, sight, and sensation creates an experience that is immersive, a living memory of events that shaped the landscape and lingered long after the floodwaters receded. Even in the calmest moments, the bridge conveys tension. The fog rolls in unpredictable patterns, creating glimpses of figures in the periphery of vision. The river below reflects distorted images that vanish when looked at directly. Whispers seem to drift along the air, faint, unintelligible, yet carrying a sense of urgency and warning. Each of these elements blends seamlessly, crafting an atmosphere of suspense that draws visitors deeper into the narrative of the bridge, allowing them to feel the presence of those who never left. The history of the flood remains central to the bridge's identity. Accounts of villagers swept away by the raging waters, some reaching the bridge only to disappear in its final moments, form the foundation of the haunting. Generations have passed, yet the memory persists, embedded in the structure, in the mist, and in the stories shared by locals who continue to regard the site with reverence and caution. The bridge is a monument to both survival and loss, a threshold where the living and the unseen briefly intersect. Nightfall intensifies the experience. The fog thickens, the river's surface glimmers under the dim light of the moon. Shadows stretch across the planks and rails. Figures appear more readily. Cries for help seem closer. The air feels charged with a presence that is impossible to ignore. Crossing the bridge during these hours is a journey into history, memory, and mystery. An intimate encounter with the past that lingers long after the final step is taken. The Bridge of No Return is more than a structure spanning a river. It is a witness to tragedy, a vessel of memory, and a place. And a place where the living can sense the presence of those who never left. Every sound, every touch, every moment of silence is a connection to lives interrupted, to warnings that continue to echo across time. As dawn approaches and the fog begins to lift, the river flows steadily below. The wooden planks creak with the gentle passage of the wind. Yet the memories remain. The cries, the figures, and the icy touches persist. A haunting reminder that the Bridge of No Return is a place where history, loss, and the unseen continue to converge. Widow's Walk Bridge stretches across a quiet river in Massachusetts, a simple wooden footbridge whose planks creak softly underfoot and whose railings are slick with mist from the water below. The river winds lazily through the landscape, reflecting the muted tones of sky and trees, and the air carries the subtle scent of river mud and pine. In daylight, the bridge seems serene, a place of reflection and calm. But as night falls, the atmosphere changes, thickening into a weight that is almost tangible, as if the bridge itself holds its breath. The story that lingers here is that of a woman who lost her husband to the sea. She walked these waters every day, watching for his return, holding on to hope even as the seasons passed and the tides refused to bring him home. Locals speak of her grief as enduring, a presence that never left the riverbanks. Travelers crossing the bridge at night sometimes glimpse her figure, pale and silent, moving slowly along the boards, searching for something that will never come. She sobs quietly, the sound carried on the wind, a soft echo that seems to ripple across the water. The silhouette of the widow is often fleeting. One moment she stands at the center of the bridge, staring into the darkened river. And the next she disappears into the mist, leaving behind only the glimmer of wet footprints along the wooden planks. Some who have seen her describe a chill that spreads from the feet upward, as if the bridge itself channels her sorrow into the very air. The mist thickens, curling along the river, wrapping the bridge in a veil that both conceals and reveals, making each sighting feel intimate yet ephemeral. The wind plays its part in the haunting faint whispers drift along the river, soft and indistinct, yet carrying a sense of history and longing. Names spoken long ago are said to be carried over the boards, sometimes clear, sometimes only half-formed. Visitors report a sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that presence is not confined to the living. The combination of sound, fog, and movement creates an atmosphere that is at once beautiful and unnerving, drawing attention to the bridge as a threshold between memory and the present. The planks beneath each step bear the weight of history. Moss grows in the cracks between the boards, damp and fragrant, giving the bridge a living quality that mirrors the enduring presence of the widow. Railings worn smooth by hands gripping in sorrow or longing remind travelers that this is not merely a passage over water, but a place steeped in the energy of loss and remembrance. Looking out over the river, one can almost imagine the sea itself reaching inland, carrying with it the vast emptiness of the ocean and the grief of those left behind. Shadows stretch across the water, shaped by moonlight and fog, sometimes forming shapes that resemble figures standing or moving along the banks. The effect is subtle but deeply unsettling, making it feel as though the river has absorbed the memory of the widow's vigil and carries it onward with every ripple and current. Even in silence, the bridge communicates. The creak of a single board, the brush of wind through trees, the ripple of water below all act as part of the narrative. Those who pause on the bridge report a sense of connection, a quiet acknowledgement of the past. The widow's presence is not aggressive, but persistent, lingering in the corners of perception, drawing attention to what was lost and what continues to echo in her absence. Visitors who spend time at the edges of the bridge describe subtle signs of the unseen. A shadow passing just out of sight, a cold draft where no wind seems to reach. The feeling of an unseen hand brushing against the shoulder or back. None of these experiences are overtly threatening, yet they are sufficient to remind those who wander that the space is charged with lingering energy. A silent witness to a tragedy that has not faded with time. At times, the river seems to respond to her sorrow. Water ripples without cause, small waves lapping against the wooden posts, and the mist rising from the surface thickens in patterns that resemble movement. In these moments, the bridge becomes a stage for both memory and the imagination. The physical and the spectral intertwining to create an experience that feels deeply intimate and profoundly unsettling. Dawn brings a different quality to Widowa's Walk Bridge. The mist thins, sunlight glimmers across the river, and the air feels lighter. Yet even in the light, the traces of grief remain. Damp footprints along the planks, subtle impressions in the moss. The sense that the bridge has witnessed centuries of longing and loss all continue to mark the passage of time. Those who cross the bridge leave carrying the weight of the story with them. An understanding that some presences endure beyond life, lingering where their love, sorrow, and devotion were most profoundly felt. Widowa's Walk Bridge is more than a wooden crossing over water. It is a testament to enduring grief, to memory preserved in place, and to the subtle ways the past continues to touch the present. Travelers who venture here experience a story told not through words, but through atmosphere, movement. And the quiet, haunting presence of a woman who waits still, her vigil unbroken, her sorrow eternal, and her footprints left behind in the mist. Devil's Crossing stretches across a deep ravine in the hills of West Virginia. A place both feared and whispered about, notorious for a history of accidents and unexplained events. Travelers who approach the bridge often speak of a heavy tension in the air, a subtle pressure that seems to warn of danger even before they reach the midpoint. The structure is old, its iron beams creaking faintly as the wind moves through them, amplifying the isolation that surrounds the crossing. Many witnesses described shadows that flit across the bridge when no one else is present. These figures appear and disappear with such speed and unpredictability that they cannot be fully observed. Sometimes they seem to mimic the movements of a person walking or leaning against the railing, yet they vanish when looked at directly. It is as if the shadows exist just outside the reach of the physical world, lingering in the space between reality and memory. The effect is disorienting, creating a sense that the bridge is not merely a structure of steel and wood, but a corridor where unseen forces move silently among travelers. Cars passing over the bridge have been known to stall without explanation. Engines die suddenly, leaving drivers stranded in the middle of the narrow span. At times, people report feeling the subtle pressure of unseen hands pushing them, a sensation that directs them toward the edge. The feeling is intense yet intangible, leaving travelers shaken and unsure of their own senses. Even those who stop to wait for help often sense a presence that does not leave, a watchful awareness that seems to study them in silence. Even those who stop to wait for help often sense a presence that does not leave, a watchful awareness that seems to study them in silence. At the center of Devil's Crossing, a figure is sometimes reported, dark and immobile. Witnesses describe it as waiting patiently, observing those who pass. Its form is indistinct, blending with the shadows and the night, yet its presence is undeniably commanding. Travelers report that the figure disappears when they continue forward, as if allowing passage only once they have acknowledged its silent dominion. The phenomenon is unnerving, yet it does not feel overtly hostile. Instead, it carries a sense of authority, a reminder that the bridge itself has become a place where ordinary rules of the physical world do not fully apply. The surrounding landscape intensifies the atmosphere of the crossing. That reach across the bridge at sunset. And even the roar of wind or the rush of water seems muted. As if the space itself absorbs noise and carries only the faintest echoes of movement. In this environment, ordinary experiences are transformed. A flicker of movement, a creak of metal, or the reflection of headlights can take on a spectral quality, suggesting that the bridge is a threshold where perception is heightened and reality is uncertain. Traveling the bridge at night amplifies these sensations. Darkness obscures the edges, leaving only the narrow pathway of worn metal beneath the tires. The quiet is profound, broken only by the occasional sound of distant water or the rustle of wind through the surrounding trees. Travelers report a tangible sensation of being watched, a subtle pressure that cannot be shaken. Each moment on the bridge feels elongated, as if time itself is stretched by the weight of unseen attention. The history of Devil's Crossing contributes to its reputation. Fatal accidents have occurred here for decades, stories passed along by local residents adding to the aura of foreboding. Each tragedy seems to leave a trace, an echo that the next traveler may perceive in fleeting glimpses or sensations. The combination of natural danger, the bridge's precarious design, and the accounts of unusual occurrences creates an environment that is both compelling and chilling. It is a place where caution is instinctive and curiosity can awaken experiences that defy explanation. Even in the light of day, the bridge carries a sense of tension. Shadows stretch across the metal beams, and the forested hills frame the ravine. In ways that make the space feel contained and alive. Observers often find themselves pausing midway, drawn to the view of the swirling water below. While also aware of a presence that cannot be seen. The air seems thicker, filled with the memory of those who have passed. And the subtle impressions left behind. Each step feels deliberate, each movement observed, as if the bridge itself maintains a consciousness shaped by decades of observation and tragedy. The bridge's twisted, nightmarish architecture seems to shift and writhe like a living thing. A lone figure, the famous singer, stands at the bridge's edge, staring out into the void. The bridge seems to be, watching the figure, its twisted structure looming over them like a malevolent presence. Devil's Crossing remains a destination for those drawn to the mysterious and the unexplained. The shadows, the sudden stalls, the unseen pressure, and the dark figure at the center. All create a compelling narrative of a place where the ordinary world intersects with something beyond comprehension. Travelers leave with stories that blend history, personal experience, and a lingering sense of unease. The bridge endures as a sentinel above the ravine, a structure shaped not only by iron and wood but by the accumulation of events, presences, and memory. Each crossing is a journey into uncertainty, where the natural and the supernatural intersect. Those who venture across find themselves in a space where shadows move, whispers are carried by the wind, and the history of the location lingers like a quiet, persistent voice. Those who venture across find themselves in a space where shadows move, whispers are carried by the wind, and the history of the location lingers like a quiet, persistent voice. Devil's Crossing is more than a bridge. It is a place where the line between reality and the unknown blurs, leaving an impression that endures long after the traveler has moved on. Ghostlight Bridge in New York stretches across a river shrouded in mist, its steel beams cutting a sharp silhouette against the night sky. The structure is both imposing and elegant, a testament to human engineering and ambition. Yet beneath its architectural beauty lies a history steeped in tragedy. Workers who built the bridge decades ago lost their lives in accidents that were both sudden and brutal. Locals say that the bridge carries the weight of these lives, and that the spirits of the fallen continue to linger, bound to the steel and shadows. Approaching Ghostlight Bridge, one notices the mist that rises from the river, thick and undulating, curling around the piers and cables like a living thing. The air feels heavier here, cooler, charged with a quiet energy that seems to hum just beneath the surface. By day, the bridge is impressive but unremarkable to the casual observer. It is in the fading light of dusk and under the cover of night that the bridge reveals its otherworldly nature. Travelers report seeing small, glowing lights that float above the deck, following anyone who crosses, moving with an intelligence that cannot be explained. Footsteps echo across the metal grating where no one walks. The sound carries unnaturally, amplified by the structure, yet no source is visible. Some say these echoes belong to the spirits of the workers, eternally retracing their steps, patrolling the bridge in a silent vigil. Visitors have described a sense of being observed, of presence just beyond the range of sight. Even the most rational minds admit to a creeping unease, a realization that this bridge is not merely a structure of steel and rivets, but a threshold between the living and the unseen. The glowing lights that appear on Ghostlight Bridge are subtle at first, small points in the distance. As one moves closer, they seem to follow, maintaining a constant distance, neither threatening nor entirely welcoming. Some describe them as lantern-like, others as formless orbs of pale light. Their movement is deliberate, almost playful, circling, rising, and lowering as if examining the living with a careful curiosity. Locals advise against crossing after dark, warning that the guardians of the bridge are vigilant, and that those who linger too long may find themselves caught in a web of observation and subtle influence. The river below adds to the bridge's haunting allure. Its waters are dark, reflective, and deceptively calm. Mist rises from its surface, curling around piers and pilings, giving the impression that the bridge floats in a sea of vapor. The sound of water lapping against the supports is interwoven with faint mechanical echoes, the memory of construction and labor. Some say that on certain nights, voices can be heard drifting across the mist, low and mournful, perhaps the remnants of conversations from another time. The combination of water, fog, and steel creates a landscape where the living and the spectral coexist in near-perfect harmony. Ghostlight Bridge is a place where the ordinary rules of perception seem Distances feel altered, and familiar shapes can twist into forms that are difficult to identify. Shadows move independently of the light, and the bridge itself seems to hum with latent energy. Even the physical sensation of crossing the deck can be disorienting. A sudden chill, a brush of air, or the inexplicable tug of presence can make travelers aware that they are part of something larger than themselves. The bridge is alive in a way that defies conventional understanding. A conduit for history, memory, and the unseen. Those who venture onto the bridge often describe a narrative unfolding around them. Lights drift, footsteps echo, and the faint sensation of contacta like a hand brushing against a shoulder reminds visitors that the spirits of the workers remain tethered to the place. The experience is not overtly threatening, but it is undeniable and immersive. There is a rhythm to the phenomena, a cadence that mirrors labor, care, and vigilance. The bridge does not simply haunt, it preserves, it observes, and it interacts with those who dare to traverse its length. Night brings a heightened intensity to the haunting. The mist thickens, obscuring the river and the far end of the bridge. The glow of the floating lights becomes more pronounced, contrasting against the darkness like distant stars brought to the earth. Footsteps resound more clearly, echoes bouncing from steel to river to mist. Whispers seem to drift from the air itself, unintelligible but laden with emotion, a mixture of sorrow, pride, and remembrance. Walking across the bridge at this hour is an exercise in immersion, a confrontation with the presence of the past made tangible in the present. Even at dawn, when the mist lifts and the bridge appears ordinary again, the memory of the night lingers. The events of the darkness of the lights, the echoes, the sense of unseen observation remain vivid. For anyone who has crossed Ghostlight Bridge is not merely a passage over a river. It is a place where history and memory are etched into steel and shadow. It is a testament to lives lost, to labor endured, and to the spirits that continue to guard, silently ensuring that the story of the bridge and those who built it is never forgotten. Visitors leave Ghostlight Bridge carrying an impression of reverence and unease. The river flows, the mist retreats, and the lights vanish with the coming of day. Yet the presence remains, imprinted in memory and in sensation. Ghostlight Bridge, New York is more than an engineering marvel, it is a liminal space. A place where the living brush against the unseen, and where the echoes of the past continue their vigil over those who dare to cross. Blackwater Bridge spans a narrow, dark section of the river in Georgia, a structure forged of iron that has endured decades of storms, wear, and tragedy. Its rusted framework and creaking joints are a testament to time, standing as a silent witness to countless accidents and misfortunes that have marked its history. During the day, it appears ordinary, a relic of a past era. Yet when night falls, the bridge transforms into something far more unsettling. A place where the boundaries between the living and the unseen seem to blur. The approach to the bridge is often shrouded in fog, the river below reflecting fragmented light and shadow. As travelers step onto the weathered planks, the sounds of creaking metal and the Rivera's flow become amplified. Each footstep seems heavier, echoing across the structure in a rhythm that matches the tension building with each movement deeper into its span. At midnight, the bridge takes on a distinctly eerie presence. Many pedestrians report hearing sobbing and quiet cries that seem to rise from the river below or the air itself. The sounds are haunting, carried by the wind and waves, never clearly originating from any visible source. The effect is disorienting, as if the bridge itself is mourning, a reminder of the lives that have been lost or affected by its long history. Visitors describe a deep unease, a sense that their every movement is observed by something beyond the physical realm. Shadowy figures are another common occurrence. Witnesses speak of dark shapes appearing at the ends of the bridge, sometimes motionless, sometimes gliding silently toward those crossing. These figures do not speak, nor do they make sound beyond the faint rustle of movement. Their presence is immediate, unsettling, and inexplicable, creating a tension that grows with each step a traveler takes. As the figures approach, the air seems colder, the shadows longer, and the sense of isolation more profound. Some who have walked the bridge at night describe an unnerving phenomenon where the structure seems to stretch endlessly. No matter how far they travel, the opposite end appears as distant as when they began. Time itself feels altered, as if the bridge exists outside the natural flow of reality. Each step forward can feel like moving through a suspended moment, where the mind struggles to reconcile distance, light, and sound. This sensation leaves many with a lingering disorientation even after leaving the bridge. The ironwork of Blackwater Bridge is a study in decay and endurance. Rust stains the beams and rivets, and the wooden planks are worn smooth in places, warped and splintered in others. The structure itself groans under weight and wind, amplifying the sense that the bridge is alive, responding to those who enter. Shadows dance along the metal lattice, elongating with the moonlight, merging with the fog in ways that challenge perception. Every detail, from the texture of the planks to the rusting beams, contributes to the immersive tension of crossing. The surrounding landscape intensifies the bridge's haunting character. The river winds beneath, dark and reflective, carrying echoes of the past along its surface. Trees press close along the banks, their branches swaying and whispering in the wind. The combination of fog, darkness, and natural sounds creates an environment where ordinary perception falters. Each footstep, each creak of metal, each distant sigh blends seamlessly into a tapestry of suspense and uncertainty. Even the air seems charged with memory. Travelers often feel a subtle presence, the sensation of unseen eyes tracing their movements. The cold touches of wind or the fleeting brush of something intangible along their arms reinforce the idea that the bridge is more than a physical crossing. It is a place where echoes of the past remain tangible, where the spirits of those affected by accidents or tragedy continue to linger, urging caution, warning, or perhaps merely observing. Night at Blackwater Bridge is a sensory experience. Fog rolls and layers across the planks, the river reflects the pale light of the moon, and shadows shift constantly, merging with the mist. The cries and sobs that rise from the darkness are accompanied by the rhythmic sound of footsteps that may or may not be real. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile stimuli creates a sense of tension that is immersive and inescapable. Those who walk the bridge feel the weight of history and the presence of the unseen pressing in from all sides. Despite its chilling reputation, the bridge holds a solemn beauty. The interplay of iron, fog, water, and shadow forms a scene of cinematic quality. The light glints off rivets and rails, mist drifts lazily over the surface, and the trees frame the structure like dark sentinels. Every element is part of the story, reinforcing the sense that this is a place where memory, tragedy, and nature converge. The bridge is not merely a relic, it is a living testament to the passage of time, loss, and lingering presence. Those who leave Blackwater Bridge often carry its influence with them. The cries, shadows, and shifting perspective of distance remain in memory long after leaving the structure. Travelers speak of sensations that linger, of footsteps echoing in thought, of fleeting glimpses of figures at the edges of vision. The bridge becomes more than a location, it is an experience, a reminder that some places are alive with history and presence, and that crossing them is as much a journey through memory as it is a passage across space. As dawn approaches and the fog begins to lift, the bridge resumes its quiet, weathered stance. The river flows steadily below, the ironwork creaks softly in the breeze, and the shadows retreat with the sun. Yet the memory of midnight persists. The cries, the figures, and the sense of endless span remain, etched into the minds of those who have crossed. Blackwater Bridge endures as a place where the past is never entirely gone, where the presence of the lost and the echo of accidents continue to shape the experience of every traveler who dares to walk its planks. Thorn Hollow Bridge stretches across a quiet, winding river in Kentucky, a wooden structure weathered by decades of rain, wind, and the passage of countless travelers. By day, it appears unremarkable, framed by dense trees and the gentle curve of the river below. Yet there is a weight to this place, a heaviness in the air that speaks of sorrow and lingering despair. Locals speak in hushed tones about the bridge, recounting stories of tragedy that seem almost embedded in its very boards and beams. Locals speak in hushed tones about the bridge, recounting stories of tragedy that seem almost embedded in its very boards and beams. The history of Thorn Hollow is not easy to separate from the atmosphere that surrounds it. Multiple lives were lost here, each one leaving a mark invisible to the eye but palpable to those who walk the bridge at night. The river flows steadily beneath, its waters dark and reflective, as if mirroring the weight of grief carried above. Mist often rises from the surface, curling around posts and railings, blurring the boundaries between the bridge and the forest, between the living and what lingers just beyond sight. Travelers who venture onto Thorn Hollow Bridge report fleeting visions along the fog-shrouded path. Figures appear at the edge of vision, human in shape yet impossibly transient, vanishing before they can be fully observed. Some witnesses describe seeing forms leap from the bridge, only to disappear before reaching the water, as though held suspended between worlds. The effect is both unnerving and mesmerizing, a reminder that the bridge is a space where reality and memory intertwine. The air here carries a chill that is deeper than the temperature suggests. A subtle draft flows along the deck, brushing against skin and sending a shiver through the body. Those who linger feel the weight of unseen eyes, a presence that watches without movement, observing each step as if guarding the memories of those who came before. A presence that watches without movement, observing each step as if guarding the memories of those who came before. It is a silence that is never empty, filled instead with the echo of sorrow and the faint resonance of history. Filled instead with the echo of sorrow and the faint resonance of history. Chains dragging across the wooden deck add another layer to the haunting. Travelers often hear this sound when no one is near, a slow, metallic scrape that rises and falls with an unnatural rhythm. The noise seems to come from the boards themselves, vibrating with a life of their own, tracing a connection to past events that remain unresolved. It is an auditory reminder that the bridge carries more than the weight of its structure, it carries the energy of those who have been lost. Even in daylight, Thorn Hollow Bridge retains a sense of unease. Sunlight filters through the surrounding trees, casting dappled shadows on the planks. And yet the shadows themselves seem to shift and linger in ways that defy natural explanation. The river below reflects more than the forest, capturing brief, indistinct forms in the water that vanish when examined closely. These subtle cues combine to create an atmosphere that is immersive, drawing attention to the bridge not merely as a crossing, but as a threshold between the visible and the unseen. The bridge's design contributes to its eerie presence. Narrow and slightly bowed, it demands careful steps along its worn planks. Railings are low, their wood splintered and darkened with age, providing a frame for the mist and shadows that accumulate around it. Every creak of a board underfoot resonates through the air, echoing as though carrying whispers from those who passed before. Observers often report that the sounds seem amplified at night, becoming part of a subtle symphony of sorrow that pervades the structure. Figures on the bridge are sometimes described as vague outlines, dark shapes that move with intent but without sound. At times, they appear close enough to glimpse features or clothing, suggesting a life once lived, before vanishing entirely. Witnesses speak of a strange sense of presence, an awareness that these figures are aware of the living, and yet exist in a separate dimension where sorrow and longing persist indefinitely. The surrounding landscape reinforces the bridge's mystique. Forests crowd tightly along the riverbanks, their branches stretching overhead and casting shadows. That deepens as the day fades. The combination of river, fog, and trees transforms the area into a liminal space. Visitors who spend time on Thorn Hollow Bridge often feel a gentle compulsion to move along, as though unseen forces guide their steps. There is no aggression, only an insistence that the bridge's history be respected. The sensation's cold drafts, whispers, fleeting shadows, and the sound of chainsaw leave a lasting impression. A reminder that the bridge holds its stories tightly and selectively shares them with those who pay careful attention. As night deepens, the Rivera's surface darkens to black, reflecting the mist and the moon in fragmented, trembling patterns. The bridge becomes a stage for the interplay of memory and presence, where past tragedies echo faintly but persistently. Each sound, movement, and shadow seems charged with significance, drawing attention to the delicate balance between the living and the spirits said to linger here. Thorn Hollow Bridge is more than a wooden crossing over water. It is a repository of sorrow, a space where the weight of history and the energy of loss converge. Those who cross it carry away more than a physical experience. They carry the subtle imprint of a place haunted by memory, where figures move silently. Chains scrape the boards, and the river below mirrors both the darkness and the enduring mystery that defines this haunting bridge. Ravena's Reach lies deep within the forests of Oregon, a bridge almost hidden among towering evergreens and thick underbrush. Most of the year, mist curls through the trees, obscuring the wooden structure and lending it an ethereal quality. Travelers who stumble upon it speak of an immediate change in the air, a heaviness that presses gently against the chest and slows the pace of thought. The forest around the bridge is quiet, unnaturally so, as if the very environment is holding its breath. Witnesses claim to see a man in dark clothing standing at the midpoint of the bridge, gazing down into the river below. His form is always still, a silhouette against the mist, unmoving yet commanding attention. As soon as anyone approaches, the figure vanishes, leaving no trace, as though it was never there. This repeated phenomenon has left visitors both puzzled and unsettled, questioning the boundary between perception and reality. The sighting is brief yet intense, imprinting a sense of presence that lingers long after the figure disappears. The bridge itself seems to carry an energy that is palpable. Wooden planks creak underfoot, sometimes responding with sharper, unexpected groans that echo through the misty forest. Shadows shift along the rails, stretching unnaturally and vanishing when confronted. Travelers often report an instinctive urge to move quickly across, a sensation of being watched that grows with each step. Even when the forest appears empty, the bridge feels alive, as if it is more than a structure, holding memories or entities that cannot be fully understood. Birds avoid the area around Ravena's Reach, their absence adding to the unsettling atmosphere. The silence is profound, punctuated only by the occasional rush of water far below or the whisper of the wind through pines. This quiet is not comforting, it is heavy, almost oppressive, amplifying every small sound and creating a sense of isolation. Some visitors experience sudden waves of nausea or a deep, inexplicable unease, sensations that seem to intensify near the center of the bridge. It is as if the very air carries a history of observation and warning, a subtle signal of the unknown. The river beneath the bridge adds to the sense of mystery. Its waters move swiftly, dark and reflective, mirroring the gray mist. Shadows play across its surface, creating illusions of movement and depth that disorient the eye. At certain angles, the river seems to shimmer unnaturally, catching glimpses of shapes that vanish when the observer turns directly toward them. The interplay of water, mist, and shadow forms a landscape where reality feels fluid, and where even familiar natural elements become eerie and unpredictable. Exploring the forest surrounding Raven's Reach reveals details that enhance the bridge's enigmatic reputation. Fallen trees form tangled patterns, moss covers rocks and roots. And small clearings occasionally appear, strangely shaped as though marking something forgotten. The forest floor is soft underfoot, muffling movement and contributing to a sense of timelessness. Paths wind in irregular patterns, some leading to the bridge, others diverting into darkness. creating an environment that is both captivating and disorienting. Even during daylight, the bridge carries an intensity that is difficult to ignore. Sunlight filters through mist and trees in shifting beams, illuminating sections of wood and casting long, flickering shadows. The dark figure is rarely seen in daylight, yet the sensation of being observed persists. Every step along the planks is measured, deliberate, and filled with awareness, as if the bridge itself is testing those who cross it. The combination of natural beauty, isolation, and unexplained phenomena creates a setting that is immersive and unforgettable. Visitors often describe the experience as simultaneously mesmerizing and unnerving. The figure, the mist, the absence of wildlife, and the sensations of nausea and unease converge to form a unique atmosphere. It is a place where ordinary logic struggles to explain events, where instinct and perception are heightened, and where the mind senses layers of presence beyond the visible world. Even brief encounters leave lasting impressions, a reminder that Ravenna's reach is more than just a bridgea, it is a threshold into the unknown. As the mist shifts and the forest sighs with the wind, the bridge endures. It stands quietly, a sentinel over the river, shrouded in mystery and memory. Each crossing carries the weight of those who have walked before, of those who have glimpsed the figure, and of the forces that seem to linger in the mist. Of those who have glimpsed the figure, and of the forces that seem to linger in the mist. And of the forces that seem to linger in the mist. Ravenna's Reach is a place where the boundary between the tangible and intangible feels thin, where shadows hold secrets, and where visitors are forever changed by their passage across its planks. Where shadows hold secrets, and where visitors are forever changed by their passage across its planks. And where visitors are forever changed by their passage across its planks. In Ravenna's Reach, every movement, every sound, and every shift of light contributes to an experience that is both haunting and unforgettable. It is a bridge where history, nature, and the unexplained converge. Those who venture here leave with a story, a sense of awe, and the undeniable impression that some presences linger beyond the limits of human understanding. The forest, the river, and the bridge itself hold these secrets patiently, waiting for the next traveler to step across the mist and into the unknown. Blood River Bridge in Louisiana stretches across a slow, murky river, its iron beams dark and weathered by decades of wind, rain, and time. The river below moves with a sluggish grace, reflecting the dim light of evening in muted ripples. For years, the bridge has been a silent witness to tragedy, a crossing where several drownings have occurred, leaving the water and the land steeped in sorrow. Locals speak of the bridge with caution, especially at night, when the air takes on a chill that seems to seep into the bones. As dusk settles over the river, a red mist sometimes rises from the surface, thin and swirling, giving the water a blood-like appearance. It clings to the beams and cables of the bridge, drifting lazily with the current, creating an eerie glow against the night sky. Travelers who have crossed at this hour describe a sense of heaviness, as if the bridge itself is aware of their presence. The mist is not simply a visual phenomenon, it carries with it an atmosphere of unease, a quiet tension that seems to demand respect and caution. Footsteps echo across the metal deck, though often no one else is present. The sound reverberates unnaturally, amplified by the structure and the stillness of the river below. Some have reported ghostly hands reaching from the sides of the bridge, fleeting and insubstantial, brushing against arms or shoulders before vanishing. These touches are not violent, yet they leave an impression, a cold, lingering sensation that travelers carry long after leaving the bridge. Faint cries, distant and fragmented, sometimes drift across the water, as if the river itself whispers the memory of lives lost. The iron structure of Blood River Bridge is imposing, with rivets and beams blackened by weather and rust. Shadows play across the deck and the surrounding water, shifting with the wind and the moonlight, creating illusions of movement that unsettle the eye. Every detail, from the creak of iron to the whisper of water, contributes to an atmosphere of lingering remembrance. Crossing the bridge at night heightens every sensation. The red mist thickens, curling around beams and stretching across the deck. And the reflection of the dim light on the water creates shapes that suggest figures moving just beyond vision. Travelers describe the feeling of being watched, an invisible attention that follows them across the span. Some report seeing fleeting silhouettes at the edges of the bridge, figures that vanish when approached. Others feel the cold touch of fingers brushing along their arms, a chilling contact that lingers even after leaving the scene. The river below adds to the haunting presence of the bridge. Its surface is deceptively calm, concealing depths that hold tragedy and memory. The water reflects the red mist, the moon, and the dark shapes of the bridge in a way that distorts perception, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and reflection. Faint sounds travel across the river, the lapping of water against pilings, distant cries, and whispers that seem carried on the current. These auditory elements amplify the sense of presence, creating an immersive experience that engages both sight and hearing. The bridge's history shapes its character. Each drowning, each accident, leaves an imprint that travelers can sense. It is not overtly threatening, but it is undeniably present. The iron seems to hold the memory of these events, as though the structure itself remembers the lives lost along its span. The combination of visual, tactile, and auditory phenomena creates an environment that is layered and immersive, where every detail reinforces the haunting legacy of Blood River Bridge. Some who cross the bridge at night report subtle, inexplicable movements. The mist swirls in unnatural patterns, shadows shift, and the faint cries grow momentarily louder or closer before fading into the darkness. These occurrences are fleeting, yet their repetition builds a pattern that suggests more than mere coincidence. Travelers speak of an invisible vigilance, a sense that the spirits of those who died in the river continue to observe, guarding their resting place and marking the living who pass through. Blood River Bridge is not only a passage over water, but a liminal space where the living and the unseen intersect. The structure, the river, the mist, and the echoes all converge to create an atmosphere that is at once sorrowful and mesmerizing. Even the faintest glimmer of light, the softest sound of iron, or a brush of air can transform the experience from ordinary to extraordinary, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness it. As dawn approaches, the red mist dissipates, the cries fade, and the iron bridge returns to its daytime appearance. Yet the memory of the night lingers. Travelers carry the sensation of cold fingers, the echo of footsteps, and the quiet presence of unseen watchers long after leaving the area. Blood River Bridge, Louisiana is more than an old iron crossing. It is a place of history, remembrance, and lingering spirits, where the river keeps its secrets. And the bridge serves as a guardian of memory, inviting respect and reflection from all who venture across its haunted span. Hollow Creek Bridge rests quietly over the winding waters of a secluded creek in Ohio. Its wooden planks are aged and worn, darkened by decades of rain and sun. And the structure itself leans slightly with the weight of time. During the day, the bridge appears peaceful, a simple crossing surrounded by trees, whose branches sway gently in the breeze. And the air carries the scent of damp earth and forest. Yet beneath this calm lies a history marked by disappearance and mystery. Decades ago, several children vanished near the bridge, their fates never fully explained. Since that time, locals say the area has been haunted by their presence. Visitors who linger too long on the bridge report seeing small silhouettes darting across the planks, vanishing into the trees before a second glance can confirm their reality. The figures appear at random, sometimes fleeting and distant, sometimes close enough to make a heartbeat quicken, yet they leave no trace beyond a sense of fleeting movement. Whispers follow those who pause too long. Laughter echoes softly along the creek, intertwined with the occasional cry, creating a haunting soundtrack. The sounds are light and ephemeral, yet they convey a presence that is unmistakable. They seem to move with the wind, circling the bridge and the surrounding forest, ensuring that anyone who crosses feels the history of the place as a living, breathing force. The bridge itself creaks and groans underfoot. Every step resonates across the old planks, mingling with the sounds of the creek and the rustling trees. Shadows shift with each movement, creating shapes that suggest more than the imagination might provide. The forest presses close along the banks, leaves brushing lightly against the railing. And the darkness beyond the tree-line feels both alive and watchful. Some locals avoid Hollow Creek Bridge entirely after sunset, respecting the unexplained forces said to linger there. Those who do venture across report a sensation of being followed, a subtle awareness of eyes observing from the shadows. The bridge seems to stretch and twist slightly in perception, each plank beneath a footstep weighted with the energy of the past. Visitors describe a mixture of fascination and unease, drawn by curiosity yet cautious of lingering too long. Fog often rises from the creek in the cooler hours of the evening, adding to the bridge's eerie atmosphere. The mist drifts across the planks and among the trees, concealing details and turning familiar forms into ghostly shapes. It is within this fog that the silhouettes of the vanished children are most often seen, moving as if playing a game invisible to the living. Their presence is not threatening, yet it carries a melancholy, a reminder of lives interrupted and the unknown that persists along the creek. The interplay of sound, shadow, and weather creates an immersive experience. The soft splash of water below, the creak of timber underfoot, and the occasional whisper of laughter combine into a tapestry that engages all senses. Even the wind seems purposeful, threading through the bridge and trees in ways that suggest intent, carrying the voices and memories of those long gone. It is a place where perception and reality blur, where every step forward is a journey through history and mystery. Despite the unsettling phenomena, there is a strange beauty to Hollow Creek Bridge. The aged wood, the surrounding forest, and the creek reflecting the moonlight form a scene both haunting and picturesque. Fog and shadow create a cinematic quality, giving the impression of a place suspended between past and present, where time is measured not in hours but in echoes of memory. Visitors often leave with a lingering impression, a sense that they have glimpsed something beyond ordinary understanding. The bridge has become a focal point for stories and memories. Accounts of figures, whispers, and fleeting shadows have persisted for generations, each retelling reinforcing the sense of mystery. People speak of the bridge with reverence, a mixture of fear and respect, understanding that it holds secrets that cannot be explained by logic alone. The energy of those lost seems intertwined with the structure, making every crossing a unique encounter that cannot be fully anticipated. Night deepens the experience. Darkness envelopes the bridge, the forest becoming a wall of shadow. The creek reflects only hints of moonlight, and the whispers grow softer, almost as if waiting for someone to listen more closely. Silhouettes may appear at any moment, running across the planks and disappearing into the mist. The air becomes heavier, the sense of history and presence more palpable, and every sound carries significance, from the creak of a plank to the rustle of leaves along the bank. Crossing Hollow Creek Bridge is a journey into the unknown. The laughter, cries, and fleeting shadows combine with the natural sounds of the creek and forest to create an atmosphere that is both captivating and unnerving. The wooden planks, worn by time and use, serve as a threshold between the living and the unseen, between curiosity and caution. Those who experience it often carry the memory with them, feeling the presence of the vanished children long after leaving the bridge behind. As dawn approaches, the fog lifts and the sounds fade, returning the bridge to its quiet state. Yet the history and energy of the place remain, embedded in the wood and the air, waiting for the next visitor to cross and witness the lingering echoes of the past, where the presence of the lost continues to touch the living, and where the creek flows beneath with the quiet persistence of time and secrets. Dead Manna's span stretches across a deep canyon in California, a suspension bridge whose cables sway slightly with the wind and whose wooden planks creak under every step. By day, it appears as a striking feat of engineering, framed by jagged cliffs and the winding river far below. Yet beneath its impressive structure lies a dark history, a legacy marked by countless accidents and an unusually high number of lives lost to despair. The atmosphere surrounding the bridge carries a weight that seems to seep into the very air, a heaviness that only grows as darkness falls. The atmosphere surrounding the bridge carries a weight that seems to seep into the very air, a heaviness that only grows as darkness falls. As night descends, fog often rolls into the canyon, thick and clinging, softening the outline of the bridge and obscuring the drop below. The mist seems to gather around the cables, swirling with purpose, and shapes begin to emerge that should not be there. Glowing figures are said to pace along the suspension cables, moving with a quiet deliberation. Their forms are faint, ephemeral, and radiant against the darkness, suggesting human presence yet flickering like fragments of memory suspended in time. Witnesses describe a feeling of being watched, as though the bridge itself is aware of their steps and intentions. Travelers who cross Dead Man's span report hearing their names called in hushed tones, desperate and urgent. The voices are never harsh, yet they carry an intensity that cannot be ignored. They seem to drift from the fog, echoing along the cables and down into the canyon, lingering just long enough to unsettle the senses. Some have turned back mid-crossing, overcome with the sensation of invisible hands guiding their choices, or perhaps warning them away. The sounds are subtle, yet they embed themselves in memory, leaving a lingering unease that does not dissipate with distance. The bridge itself has a physical presence that amplifies its haunted reputation. Wooden planks, worn smooth by years of travel, groan beneath each step. The steel cables sway slightly, vibrating with the wind, producing soft hums and metallic echoes that mingle with the cries carried from the fog. Shadows stretch along the boards, shifting with the illumination of moonlight or distant city lights, often forming shapes that seem momentarily human. The combination of sound, movement, and visual distortion creates an environment where perception is constantly challenged, and the boundary between reality and apparition blurs. Mist rising from the canyon below often obscures the figures seen along the cables. They appear only briefly, glimpsed out of the corner of the eye or through the fog's ephemeral veil. Some travelers report seeing individuals who resemble past victims, their faces pale and eyes hollow, yet expressionless. These figures pace the length of the bridge, vanish into the mist, and reappear at different points, suggesting a presence that is tied to the structure itself rather than the physical world. The canyon surrounding Dead Man's span contributes. Cliffs rise steeply on either side, their surfaces jagged and shadowed. Trees cling to the edges, their branches swaying in the wind, producing whispers that mingle with the fog. The river below reflects moonlight in fragmented patterns, casting ghostly reflections that dance across the underside of the bridge. Each element of the fog, the canyon, the river, and the wind conspires to create a setting that is both beautiful and unsettling. A liminal space where natural grandeur and supernatural presence intersect. Those who linger on the bridge describe a tangible tension in the air, a sensation that something unseen is aware of every movement. Cold drafts sweep across the deck even on calm nights, brushing against the skin with an almost sentient intent. Shadows appear to move independently, stretching and bending around figures, creating a visual play that is impossible to explain by ordinary means. The environment interacts with visitors, engaging them in a subtle dialogue between presence and perception, life and memory. Sounds carry across the canyon in ways that amplify their effect. A single footstep echoes far longer than expected. A whispered name reverberates as though the cliffs themselves are speaking. The wind produces tonal vibrations along the steel cables. Every element of the bridge is attuned to its history, resonating with the energy of past events and the lingering echoes of lives lost. Travelers report that the further they move into the span, the more palpable these sensations become. As if the bridge itself is a vessel for memory and grief. The suspension cables offer a unique perspective on the phenomena. Walking along them, the distance from the boards below seems to emphasize vulnerability, while the height and openness accentuate isolation. Figures pacing along the upper cables are sometimes glimpsed from below or through the fog, their glow contrasting against the darkness of the canyon. Observers describe a sense of movement that is deliberate yet restrained. A pacing that suggests waiting, watching, and an enduring connection to the bridge and its history. The figures seem to be connected to the bridge's dark past. As night deepens, the fog thickens, obscuring everything beyond a few feet. Travelers cross with caution, often sensing that the bridge exerts an influence over perception, encouraging attention to its stories while maintaining its secrets. The bridge becomes a stage for apparitions, whispers, and the sensation of unseen attention. Every sound and movement is magnified in the quiet, every figure glimpsed feels alive yet unreachable. The sensation of unseen attention. Dead Man's span is more than a suspension bridge. It is a threshold where human tragedy and lingering presence converge. The wooden planks, swaying cables, misty air, and canyon below combine to create an environment charged with history and memory. Those who venture across carry away more than the experience of a physical structure. They leave with the impression of a place alive with echoes, where glowing figures pace endlessly, voices call in desperation. And the bridge itself stands as a testament to the weight of lives lost and the enduring mystery that surrounds this haunting landmark. Shadow River Bridge spans a twisting, dark river in the forests of Pennsylvania, its weathered planks and iron supports creating a pathway both sturdy and foreboding. Locals have long associated the bridge with unexplained disappearances, a reputation that has grown with each passing decade. Travelers who approach the bridge often describe an immediate change in the atmosphere, a shift in the air that feels heavier, colder, and charged with a presence that cannot be seen. The river beneath moves swiftly, its waters dark and reflective. Shadows are said to move across the surface independently, gliding against the current or shifting in ways that defy logic. Observers note shapes that appear to watch them, disappearing the instant attention is directed toward them. This phenomenon contributes to a sense of unease, as if the river itself holds memories or forces that reach outward toward those who cross above. The effect is subtle yet persistent, leaving an impression that lingers long after leaving the bridge. Footsteps can often be heard echoing across the planks even when the bridge appears empty. They start softly, a faint rhythm in the distance, and grow closer, sounding as though someone is walking beside or behind. Travelers report that the sounds can stop suddenly or shift unpredictably, as if the source is aware of observation. The echoes blend with the natural creaks of wood and wind through the iron beams, creating a layered auditory experience that is disorienting and haunting. Strange cold pockets are a common occurrence along Shadow River Bridge. One moment the air may feel normal, and the next a sudden chill sweeps across the path. And the next a sudden chill sweeps across the path, seeping through clothing and skin. It is an abrupt sensation, often accompanied by a subtle pressure or the feeling of being watched. Some visitors have described this cold as carrying a weight, a heaviness that seems to press against the chest and heighten the senses. In these moments, the bridge feels alive in a way that is both captivating and unsettling. Whispers are another element frequently reported here. They are faint, almost imperceptible at first, rising from the planks, railings, or surrounding trees. Sometimes they seem to be warnings, phrases of caution that cannot be clearly understood. Other times they are simply fragments of sound, a voice or sigh that disappears as quickly as it appears. The combination of whispers, footsteps, and cold pockets creates a tapestry of sensations that challenges perception and encourages vigilance. The structure of the bridge itself adds to the atmosphere. Wooden planks shift slightly, warped by time and the elements, creating subtle vibrations that resonate beneath the feet. The railings, worn smooth in places, offer both guidance and a reminder of the precariousness of the path. Even in daylight, the bridge conveys a quiet power, a presence that is felt rather than seen, compelling those who cross it to remain alert and aware of every step. The surrounding environment intensifies the experience. The twisting course of the water reflects shadows and light in ways that seem unnatural. The sounds of the forest are often absent, leaving the area unnervingly quiet except for the rushing water and occasional echo of a distant branch breaking. The isolation enhances the perception that this is a place where ordinary rules of reality do not entirely apply. Nightfall transforms Shadow River Bridge into an even more formidable experience. Darkness amplifies shadows and reflections, making them appear closer and more deliberate. The echoes of footsteps can become disorienting, seeming to move in ways that defy expectation. The whispers grow sharper in the silence, their source impossible to locate. The cold pockets intensify, often leaving travelers shivering despite heavy clothing. Every sense is heightened, and the line between natural and supernatural blurs, creating an atmosphere of suspense and uncertainty. The history of the bridge contributes to its reputation. Tales of disappearances and strange events have circulated for generations, shaping the perception of those who visit. The combination of documented accidents, local lore, and unexplained phenomena reinforces the sense that Shadow River Bridge is more than a simple structure. It is a place imbued with lingering presence, a threshold where the past and present converge. Visitors often leave with a sense of awe and unease, carrying the memory of experiences that cannot easily be explained. Shadow River Bridge endures as a silent sentinel above the twisting river. Each crossing brings a unique set of sensations, a mixture of observation, intuition, and interaction with the unseen. A mixture of observation, intuition, and interaction with the unseen. The shadows, footsteps, whispers, and sudden cold remind travelers that this is a place where the ordinary and extraordinary meet. A place where the ordinary and extraordinary meet. The weight of history and mystery is palpable with every step. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. The river below, the forest around, and the bridge itself hold a presence that is felt deeply by those who venture across. It is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. This is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. It is a place where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. The river below, the forest around, and the bridge itself hold a presence that is felt deeply by those who venture across. It is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. This is a place where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. And perception is challenged at every turn. The river below, the forest around, and the bridge itself hold a presence that is felt deeply by those who venture across. It is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. This is a place where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. And perception is challenged at every turn. The river below, the forest around, and the bridge itself hold a presence that is felt deeply by those who venture across. It is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. This is a place where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. And perception is challenged at every turn. The river below, the forest around, and the bridge itself hold a presence that is felt deeply by those who venture across. It is a place where stories of the past mingle with the experiences of the present, creating an enduring and haunting impression. Every visit becomes a journey into uncertainty, a moment of connection with forces unseen, and an encounter with the shadowed edge of perception itself. This is a place where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. Here, on the planks of Shadow River Bridge, one finds a space where time seems suspended, and perception is challenged at every turn. And perception is challenged at every turn. Iron Veil Bridge in Colorado stretches across a deep, shadowed gorge, its steel beams rising like a latticework of human ambition and engineering. The chasm below is dark and foreboding, carved by time and the relentless flow of a river that glimmers faintly in daylight. Travelers approach it with caution, aware that those who cross after dark often report phenomena that defy reason. The structure stands as both a marvel and a warning, a passage over natural beauty laced with an eerie presence. During the day, Iron Veil Bridge is awe-inspiring. Sunlight reflects off the steel cables, casting angular shadows across the deck and deep into the gorge. Wind whips through the spans, producing a low hum that resonates with the hollow sound of the river far below. Visitors often pause to take in the view, yet the bridge seems to watch them in return. A subtle awareness that something beyond the ordinary inhabits this place. It is not merely a structure of metal and bolts, but a space charged with memory, energy, and unexplained occurrences. Figures have been reported standing mid-span, motionless and observing those who cross. Some claim the shapes resemble workers from the bridge's past, or travelers who vanished along its deck. The figures do not move, and when approached, they vanish without a trace, leaving no footprints, no shadow, only the lingering sense of having been witnessed. These apparitions are often described as fleeting, yet their presence is undeniable, a visual reminder that Iron Veil Bridge is more than a physical crossing. It is a threshold between the known and the unseen, where perception and memory intertwine. Night transforms the bridge into an even more mysterious landscape. Lantern lights appear along the deck, floating in midair, drifting slowly as if carried by invisible hands. Some see them as protective, guiding travelers safely across the span, while others feel they lure the curious deeper into the shadows. The lights are gentle yet insistent, illuminating the steel beams with a soft glow, their movement deliberate and unhurried. Observers often report a mix of wonder and unease, as though the bridge itself is alive, interacting with those who venture onto it. The air around Iron Veil Bridge carries a unique quality, thick with mist in certain sections and sharp with mountain wind in others. The river below adds to the atmosphere, its dark waters reflecting the faint glow of lanterns. Faint sounds of footsteps, metal groaning, and whispers accompany those crossing, yet often no one else is present. The combination of sights and sounds creates an immersive experience, one that engages all senses and reinforces the perception that the bridge is not simply a passage but a place of lingering consciousness that are difficult to explain. And the sense of being observed intensifies. Others perceive a more malevolent presence, as if the energies of past tragedies assert themselves. The history of Iron Veil Bridge adds layers to its mystique. Built decades ago, the structure required immense labor and bravery, spanning a gorge that tested both men and materials. Records of accidents and unexplained disappearances have persisted through the years, becoming woven into local lore. Each incident, whether a mechanical failure, a misstep, or a vanished traveler, is said to leave an imprint upon the bridge. Observers note that perception on the bridge is subtly distorted. Distances seem to shift, figures appear closer or farther than they should, and shadows move in ways that defy the angle of light. The floating lanterns add to the disorientation, their glow both mesmerizing and unnerving. Even seasoned hikers and locals admit to a sense of time stretching, of minutes feeling like hours while on the bridge at night. This manipulation of perception enhances the impression that Iron Veil Bridge is more than a crossing, it is a living, breathing environment with its own rules. By dawn, the bridge regains a semblance of normalcy. Shadows retreat, the lanterns vanish, and the air loses its heavy, electric tension. Yet the memory of the night lingers in those who have crossed, a feeling that something was observed, a sense that the bridge communicated in a language of presence and attention. Iron Veil Bridge is an intersection of history, natural grandeur, and the inexplicable, a place where steel and spirit meet. Travelers leave with a lasting impression of awe, respect, and a quiet acknowledgement that the bridge carries secrets and guardians that cannot be fully understood. Iron Veil Bridge, Colorado is more than a structure of engineering excellence. It is a place where the past and the present converge, and where the living and the unseen coexist, leaving those who traverse it with a sense of wonder, unease, and enduring fascination. The bridge remains, steadfast and enigmatic, spanning the gorge as it has for decades. A sentinel of steel, shadow, and lingering spirit. Wittawa-S Creek Bridge stretches across a narrow, shadowed portion of Tennessee's countryside, a wooden structure weathered by decades of rain, wind, and time. Its planks are darkened with age, warped in places, and the rails creak softly under even the lightest step. During the day, it seems ordinary, a quiet crossing over the murmuring waters of the creek below. Yet when night falls, the bridge transforms into a place of legend and lingering presence. The bridge takes its name from a woman who fell here years ago, her life ending abruptly and tragically along the creek. Locals have long told stories of her spirit, an apparition that walks the bridge after sunset. Some say she appears in the dim light, her form pale and flowing, moving slowly as though retracing the final moments of her life. At times, she is accompanied by the faint outline of a spectral dog, a companion in the afterlife, whose presence adds to the chilling atmosphere that surrounds the bridge. Travelers crossing Wittawa-S Creek Bridge often report an immediate change in the environment. The air grows colder, a sharp chill that seems to press against the skin. Shadows appear deeper, stretching and twisting across the planks and rails. Along with the drop in temperature comes a sound that is almost imperceptible at first, a soft whisper calling a name, lingering just beyond clear comprehension. The voice carries through the night, seeming to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, evoking unease and a profound sense of being watched. Many who have ventured across the bridge at night describe a sensation of touch without form. Invisible hands tug at clothing or graze the arms of those who pause too long, leaving a shiver that runs deep through the body. These touches are fleeting but unmistakable, reinforcing the stories of lingering spirits and the continued presence of the woman whose life ended here decades ago. The sensation is both startling and intimate, creating a direct connection between the living and the unseen. The structure of the bridge itself amplifies the atmosphere. Each wooden plank groans underfoot, and the wind through the surrounding trees carries with it the sound of creaking wood, leaves brushing against each other, and the subtle rush of the creek below. Shadows from the branches form shifting patterns, creating illusions of movement that dance across the planks. Every step feels deliberate, every glance over the rail invites a deeper awareness of the space, as if the bridge itself is attuned to the presence of those who walk upon it. The spectral dog is a particularly haunting element of the legend. Observers have described glimpses of a dark shape moving alongside the woman's figure. Its form sometimes just a shadow, sometimes more distinct, with glowing eyes that seem to follow every step. Its silent movements mirror those of the woman, a companion caught between the world of the living and the unseen. The effect is striking, a reminder that the bridge is not simply a crossing over water, but a threshold where memory, loss, and legend converge. Fog often settles over Wittawa Creek Bridge in the cool hours of night, curling along the planks and among the trees. In this mist, the appearances of the woman and her dog are most frequently reported. Their forms shift and shimmer, sometimes distant, sometimes close enough to create an immediate sense of presence. The woman and her dog are most frequently reported. The fog enhances the isolation of the bridge, muting sound and bending light, creating a setting where perception is challenged. Their forms shift and shimmer, sometimes distant, sometimes close enough to create an immediate sense of presence. The creek below adds to the bridge's haunting character. Its waters flow with a quiet insistence, reflecting the dim light of the moon, carrying with them a soft, constant murmur. The sound of running water mixes with the creaks of the bridge and the whispers in the night, forming a layered tapestry of audio that evokes both unease and fascination. Travelers often describe feeling that the creek itself remembers the tragedy. That the water holds echoes of the past that surface only when the night is still and quiet. Nighttime at Widow's Creek Bridge is a fully immersive experience. The shadows, fog, and sounds combine to create an environment that is both beautiful and unsettling. Every step, every whisper, every unexpected touch forms part of a narrative that stretches across decades. The presence of the woman and her companion dog transforms a simple wooden crossing into a portal where the past persists, reminding visitors that some places retain the memory of events long after those involved are gone. The bridge also has a quiet, reflective quality. Beneath the tension and fear lies a sense of continuity, a recognition of life, loss, and the enduring connection between the living and those who have passed. The whispers, touches, and appearances are not overtly threatening, yet they insist upon recognition. They are reminders of a story that refuses to be forgotten, embedded into the wood, the air, and the very fabric of the creek itself. As dawn approaches, the fog begins to lift and the shadows recede. The creek flows steadily beneath the bridge, and the wooden planks return to their quiet, weathered state. Yet the memory of night remains, etched in the minds of those who crossed after dark. The woman and her spectral dog linger in legend, in whispers, and in the cold air that clings to the bridge long after the night has ended. Wittawa Creek Bridge endures as a place where history, loss, and mystery meet. Where the living can feel the presence of the past. And where the echoes of a single tragedy continue to resonate through time. Bloodwood Bridge stretches across a narrow river in New Hampshire, surrounded by dense forest that rises like silent sentinels on either side. The air here carries the damp scent of pine and earth, thick with mist that curls along the water and clings to the bridge's worn wooden planks. In daylight, the structure appears sturdy yet weathered, its rails darkened with age and moisture. By night, the scene transforms, shadows deepening in the fog, and the bridge seems to take on a presence of its own, heavy with the memory of countless tragedies that have occurred here. The history of Bloodwood Bridge is etched into its boards and beams, though no plaque marks its past. Locals speak in hushed tones of accidents and misfortune, of lives lost to despair, missteps, or unseen forces. Those who wander the bridge after dark often describe an unsettling sensation, as though the very air presses in around them, thick with sorrow and anticipation. Figures sometimes appear at the edges of vision, pale or shadowed, lingering briefly before vanishing or climbing over the railing, disappearing into the darkness below. The effect is disorienting, a reminder that the bridge is more than a physical structure, but a threshold where the boundary between the living and the unseen is fragile. Travelers crossing Bloodwood Bridge often report sounds that cannot be traced to any source. Muffled cries rise from beneath the deck, seeming to come from the river or the shadows of the forest. Seeming to come from the river or the shadows of the forest. Carrying a weight of anguish that resonates deep within the chest. Footsteps echo along the planks, measured and deliberate. Yet no figure can be found. Each creak of the wood, each shift of the mist. filling the air with tension that keeps visitors alert. Their senses attuned to every subtle movement or whisper of sound. The forest surrounding the bridge contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Faint glowing eyes are sometimes glimpsed among the undergrowth, flickering briefly before disappearing into the blackness. Whether animal or something else entirely, these glimpses leave a lasting impression, adding to the sense that the bridge and the woods around it are alive with watchful, unseen observers. The bridge's design enhances the unease that lingers here. Narrow and slightly arched, its planks creak underfoot, swaying with the wind in a subtle, hypnotic rhythm. The rails are low, allowing for glimpses of the river below, dark and rushing, reflecting fog and shadow like a mirror of forgotten stories. Every step seems to reverberate along the structure, a reminder of the fragile balance between safety and peril, between the living who pass and the presences that linger. Figures are sometimes seen pacing or climbing along the bridge's edges. Witnesses describe them as human in shape but ghostly in demeanor, moving with a fluidity that defies ordinary movement. Some vanish mid-step, dissolving into the mist, while others linger just long enough to be observed, their presence heavy with the weight of past despair. The experience leaves a subtle but undeniable impression. A sense that the bridge carries with it more than its physical structure, holding memories and energies that persist beyond time. A sense of impending doom and madness. The river below adds another layer to the haunting. Its waters flow dark and reflective, moving silently except for the occasional ripple against rocks. Shadows cast by the mist create the illusion of movement beneath the surface, forming shapes that vanish when directly observed. Travelers report hearing splashes or soft cries as if someone has entered the water, though no one is visible. The combination of visual distortion, sound, and atmosphere creates an immersive experience, pulling those who cross the bridge into a world where the ordinary and the supernatural intertwine. Wind moves through the forest and across the bridge with a voice of its own. Leaves rustle, branches sway, and the mist curls along the planks, producing soft, eerie sounds that complement the cries and footsteps. Each gust seems to shift the perception of the bridge, making figures appear and vanish, sounds emerge and fade, as though the bridge is performing a quiet, ongoing reenactment of its history for anyone attuned enough to notice. Even the smallest details carry significance. The worn edges of the wooden planks, the dark stains along the rails, the moss clinging to posts all suggest endurance and memory. Visitors often feel a compulsion to move quickly across, driven not only by instinct but by an unspoken awareness that lingering too long may draw attention from the unseen occupants. The bridge demands respect, its energy subtle yet unmistakable. A silent keeper of the past that refuses to be ignored. At the deepest hours of the night, Bloodwood Bridge becomes a liminal space, where the boundaries between worlds feel especially thin. Figures pacing along the edges, muffled cries, glowing eyes in the woods, and the gentle sway of the planks converge to create an atmosphere that is simultaneously beautiful and unnerving. It is a place where memory and presence merge, where sorrow is palpable, and where those who traverse it carry with them the lasting impression of a bridge that is far more than a simple crossing over water. Bloodwood Bridge is not merely a structure of wood and nails. It is a monument to human tragedy, a vessel for memory, and a stage for the lingering presence of the lost. Those who walk across it experience more than a journey over a riviera. They encounter a space alive with echoes, shadows, and whispers. A bridge where the living and the unseen intersect, and where the forest and fog conspire to remind all who cross that some stories are never truly finished. Forgotten Pines Bridge rests quietly in the heart of a dense Michigan forest. An old wooden structure long abandoned and slowly reclaimed by nature. The planks are worn and weathered, darkened by years of rain and snow, and the rails lean slightly. hinting at the passage of time and neglect. And the rails lean slightly, hinting at the passage of time and neglect. Those who stumble upon it immediately sense a change in the air. A heaviness that feels both ancient and alive. Visitors frequently report hearing voices, hushed conversations that seem to come from nowhere. The sounds are subtle at first, just the faintest whisper of words, fragments that cannot be understood. As one stands on the bridge, the murmurs grow slightly clearer, weaving around the wooden beams and floating over the river below. There is never a visible source, no figures in sight, yet the voices have a distinct human quality, as though the bridge itself is echoing memories long forgotten. Shadows are a constant presence, especially in the fog that often blankets the area. Sometimes the shapes appear fleetingly at the edges of vision, vanishing when looked at directly, leaving a lingering sense that someone or something is observing. The play of light and shadow, combined with the mist and dense trees, creates a scene that is both mesmerizing and disquieting, a liminal space between the natural and the supernatural. Lights are another phenomenon reported along Forgotten Pines Bridge. They appear suddenly, small and pale, dancing along the planks or hovering above the rails. These lights glow softly, sometimes in the shape of lanterns, at other times as undefined points of brightness. These lights vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving observers questioning what they have seen. The effect is haunting, yet strangely beautiful, casting the bridge in a spectral glow that seems to honor the memories of those who once crossed it. Some visitors describe a subtle vibration underfoot, a humming that resonates through the wooden planks. It is soft, barely perceptible, yet constant enough to be noticed by those attuned to the bridge's presence. The sound has been likened to a lullaby, gentle and sorrowful, as if the bridge itself is singing to those who pause and listen. It is a sound that carries both comfort and melancholy, a reminder that the space holds history, presence, and perhaps something that transcends ordinary understanding. The surrounding forest amplifies the bridge's atmosphere. Towering pines and dense undergrowth create long shadows. The soft rustle of leaves can seem like whispers from the past. Wildlife is often absent near the bridge. Every step on the wooden planks, every creak of the beams, every gust of wind. The environment encourages awareness as if the forest and the bridge are attuned. Fog transforms the bridge into a corridor of uncertainty. Shapes become ambiguous, distance becomes difficult to judge. The familiar rhythm of steps can feel delayed or echoed unnaturally. The combination of mist, shadows, and the subtle hum creates a sensory experience that is immersive and intense. Each moment on the bridge feels stretched, as if time itself slows to accommodate the unseen forces that inhabit the space. Visitors often report feeling watched or gently guided, a sensation that is both eerie and fascinating. Exploration of the bridge during daylight does not diminish its enigmatic qualities. The mist is less dense but still present in patches, curling along the river and between trees. The bridge conveys a sense of history and presence, a reminder that it has witnessed countless crossings and holds echoes of those who have come before. Nightfall intensifies the mystery. Shadows lengthen and deepen. Fog thickens. Whispers of the bridge become more distinct. Lights may appear and vanish. The faint hum grows perceptible. Observers report that the bridge feels almost alive, guiding footsteps and drawing the eye toward the river and trees. Each moment feels charged with possibility. As if the bridge exists not merely in space but in memory and perception simultaneously. Forgotten Pines Bridge endures as a place where the natural and the unseen converge. The voices, shadows, lights, and soft humming combine to create an atmosphere that is immersive, haunting, and unforgettable. Each crossing is a journey into uncertainty, a moment where the past and present meet, and where the ordinary perception of the world is challenged. The bridge is a living memory, a sentinel of forgotten footsteps, whispers, and lights, waiting silently for the next visitor to step onto its planks and become part of its enduring story. Here, on the old wooden bridge in the forest, the echoes of the past are never far away. Every creak of the boards, every shifting shadow, every faint hum carries a reminder that some presences linger, tied to the space, the river, and the surrounding pines. Forgotten Pines Bridge is more than a crossing, it is a portal to memory, mystery, and the quiet persistence of what has been lost. A place where the unseen is felt as vividly as the air and wood beneath each step. Devil's Gate Bridge in California arches over a deep, shadowed canyon, its stonework weathered by decades of wind, rain, and the relentless passage of time. The canyon below is dark and foreboding, carved into the earth with jagged cliffs and a river that twists silently through the gorge. Travelers who approach the bridge speak of an unease that begins long before they set foot on its deck. The structure itself seems to hold a weight beyond its physical mass, a presence that watches and waits, tied to the earth and the shadows. During the day, the bridge presents a facade of quiet majesty. The stone glows faintly in sunlight, warm and inviting to the casual observer. Yet those who linger sense something beneath the surface, an energy that is patient, observing, and unmoving. Visitors often describe the feeling of being watched, a subtle pressure at the edges of perception, as if the bridge itself is aware of their presence. The air carries a faint chill, a reminder that this crossing is not entirely ordinary. As night falls, Devil's Gate Bridge transforms into a landscape of tension and mystery. Fog rises from the canyon below, often thickening suddenly and swallowing the span in a ghostly haze. Shapes shift within the mist, the edges of the deck blurred and indistinct. Travelers report seeing a figure in black standing at the edge, silent and unmoving, staring down into the canyon waters. When approached, it vanishes without a trace, leaving only the memory of its presence and a lingering sense of unease. Sounds on the bridge at night are subtle but unnerving. Faint echoes carry across the stone, footsteps where none should be, or the soft scrape of chains dropping from nowhere. The chains rattle along the deck with a sound that resonates deep within the chest, a vibration that seems to connect the living to the weight of the past. Some travelers have reported hearing their own names called, the voice soft but clear, drifting across the mist. The source is never visible, yet the experience is vivid, undeniable, and chilling. The bridge itself is imposing, a testament to human construction and natural forces combined. Its stone arches are worn smooth by time, yet the surface of the deck can shift perception. Shadows lengthen and twist across the stonework, sometimes suggesting figures at the periphery of vision. The canyon below is deep and dark, its waters reflecting little of the light above. The fog clings to the cliffs and the edges of the bridge, rising and falling as though breathing with the canyon itself. Every step across the span feels deliberate, each movement an acknowledgement of the unseen observers that inhabit this place. A sudden chill may run along the spine, a brush of air at the neck with no visible source, or the weight of eyes upon them even when the deck appears empty. Others feel a sense of menace, a reminder that the bridge is a boundary between the ordinary and the extraordinary, a place where past tragedies and lingering spirits converge. Devil's Gate Bridge has a history woven into its stone and shadow. It has long been associated with accidents, unexplained disappearances, and the untold stories of those who ventured too far into the mist or lingered at the edge. Each event, whether documented or whispered through local legend, adds to the weight of presence that travelers can sense today. The bridge does not move or speak, yet it communicates through atmosphere, sight, and sound, imparting a story of caution and remembrance to those who cross. The fog and the figures interact with perception in subtle ways. Shapes can seem closer or farther than they are, and the darkness can distort familiar landmarks, making the span feel longer and the edges more dangerous. Lanterns or faint glows are sometimes reported, floating across the deck with an inexplicable rhythm. Some see them as guides, others as enticements. Every crossing is an encounter with the unseen, an experience that challenges the boundaries of what is known and unknown. An experience that challenges the boundaries of what is known and unknown. By dawn, the fog lifts, the figure disappears, and the chains remain silent. The bridge appears as it did during daylight, solid, enduring, and unremarkable to the casual eye. Yet those who have crossed during the night carry the memory of the experience, the weight of unseen observation, and the lingering chill of contact with the inexplicable. Devil's Gate Bridge is more than a stone structure spanning a canyon, it is a place where history, mystery, and the unseen converge. It is a threshold where time, shadow, and memory meet, leaving travelers with a sense of awe, respect, and quiet unease. Devil's Gate Bridge, California is a crossing of more than stone and earth. It is a passage through atmosphere, history, and lingering presence. Every shadow, every sound, every brush of mist or chain reminds visitors that this is a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Where the living and the unseen intersect. And where the echoes of past events continue to resonate along the stone span. It is a bridge that demands attention, patience, and respect. Leaving those who traverse it with an indelible mark of its haunting legacy. Hollow Oak Bridge stretches across a slow, dark section of the river in Virginia. Its wooden planks are worn and weathered, water-stained from years of storms and floods. The arches beneath frame shadows that seem to move with the currents. And the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and flowing water. By day, the bridge appears ordinary, a crossing for the occasional traveler. Yet as night descends, it takes on a presence both heavy and unsettling. Locals speak in hushed tones about the drownings that have occurred here over decades, accidents that left their mark not only on memory but, it is said, on the very fabric of the bridge. Visitors often describe an oppressive feeling as they step onto the planks, as though the weight of past tragedies hangs in the air. Every creak of timber and rustle of leaves seems amplified, each step carrying a sense of anticipation and unease. The bridge feels alive with history, a place where the events of the past linger unseen but profoundly felt. Shadowy figures are a common sight at Hollow Oak Bridge. Travelers report seeing dark shapes pacing along the deck, moving slowly and deliberately, disappearing when approached or viewed directly. These figures are often fleeting, glimpsed in the corner of an eye, leaving behind a sense of being watched. The shapes are rarely threatening in appearance, yet their presence is unmistakable, a reminder that the bridge is a meeting point between the living and the memories of those lost to the river below. Whispers echo between the arches at night, soft and unintelligible yet carrying a tone of warning or sadness. The sound seems to rise from the river itself, bouncing off the wooden beams and archways in ways that confuse perception. Those who pause in the middle of the bridge feel the words brush past their ears, lingering in the air like mist. The whispers create a tension that is both subtle and inescapable, drawing attention to the bridge as more than a mere structure, but a place that remembers, that observes, and that communicates in ways beyond understanding. Some visitors speak of sensations that go beyond sight and sound. The air can grow suddenly cold, pressing against the skin like a physical weight. Hands that are not seen seem to graze or tug at clothing, fleeting touches that evoke a mixture of fear and curiosity. It is as though the spirits of those who drowned in the river beneath still reach out, tethered to the bridge and water, lingering to make their presence known to anyone who steps onto the planks. The structure of the bridge contributes to its atmosphere. The wood creaks underfoot, each plank uneven from age and weather. The arches below catch shadows that shift with the wind and light. Fog often rises from the river during the cooler hours of evening, curling around the beams and railings, obscuring sightlines and enhancing the feeling of isolation. The combination of weather, shadow, and sound creates an environment where ordinary perception falters, where the mind struggles to distinguish between natural movement and something otherworldly. The river beneath Hollow Oak Bridge flows with quiet persistence, its dark surface reflecting only fragments of moonlight. The water carries the memory of past tragedies, a constant, unspoken presence that interacts with the bridge above. Waves lap against the pilings with soft insistence, echoing the whispers and footsteps heard along the deck. Even the wind seems purposeful, weaving through the arches and trees, carrying sounds and sensations that suggest the bridge itself is alive with memory. Those who venture across the bridge at night often describe a sense of suspended time. Distances feel altered, shadows lengthen unnaturally, and sounds are distorted as though traveling through another layer of reality. Distances feel altered, shadows lengthen unnaturally, and sounds are distorted as though traveling through another layer of reality. Every creak of a plank and every whisper of the wind reinforces the feeling that the bridge is not merely a passage but a place where past and present coexist. The spirits of the drowned, it is said, are restless, their presence a reminder that some tragedies leave traces that cannot be erased by time. The spirits of the drowned, it is said, are restless, their presence a reminder that some tragedies leave traces that cannot be erased by time. Fog and darkness transform Hollow Oak Bridge into a landscape of tension and reflection. The arches cast deep shadows, the river seems deeper and darker than during the day. And the surrounding trees bend close to the structure as if to observe. The combination of natural and supernatural elements creates an immersive experience, where every step is measured, and every sound is laden with significance. Travelers leave the bridge aware of the history it carries, feeling the weight of lives lost and the ongoing presence of those who remain tethered to the water below. Despite the unease it inspires, the bridge possesses a solemn, haunting beauty. Moonlight glints off the river and wood. Fog drifts across the arches, and shadows form shifting patterns that feel almost alive. Hollow Oak Bridge endures as more than a crossing. It is a repository of memory and presence, a threshold where the living may encounter echoos of the past. Its power lies not in fear alone, but in its ability to make visitors feel the depth of history, the persistence of loss, and the quiet, enduring presence of spirits that continue to shape the experience of those who dare to cross after dark. By dawn, the fog lifts and the river resumes its steady flow, the bridge returning to its weathered, silent state. Yet the memory of night lingers for those who have walked its planks. The whispers, the shadows, and the cold touches remain vivid in thought and feeling. Hollow Oak Bridge stands as a testament to the passage of time, the persistence of memory, and the presence of the unseen. A place where history and legend intertwine, and where the echoes of those lost continue to shape every journey across its haunted span. Mistfall Bridge lies deep within the forests of Oregon. A narrow structure shrouded in fog and framed by towering trees whose branches reach overhead like skeletal fingers. The air here carries a damp, earthy scent, heavy with mist that clings to skin and clothing. During the day, the bridge appears unremarkable, a simple crossing over a quiet river. Yet when fog descends, the atmosphere transforms, and the bridge becomes a liminal space where the ordinary and the unseen seem to overlap. Those who venture across Mistfall Bridge speak of figures appearing in the mist. They are often pale shapes, vaguely human, moving slowly along the deck, or appearing at the edges of vision. Sometimes these figures walk alongside travelers, silent companions that vanish when confronted directly. Their presence is subtle yet persistent, leaving a sense of unease that settles over those who cross, as if the bridge itself is aware of every step and every thought. Footsteps often echo behind travelers, soft but deliberate, yet when they turn to look, no one is there. The sounds are precise, matching the rhythm of their own steps at times, and then diverging, suggesting an independent movement that is invisible yet tangible. The combination of mist, shadow, and sound creates an immersive experience, as if the bridge exists in multiple dimensions at once, blending the present with echoes of the past. Mistfall Bridge is said to repeat tragedies. Stories tell of accidents and misfortune that occurred here decades ago. And some visitors claim to witness faint glimpses of these events replaying before them. Shadows fall into patterns that suggest figures moving in familiar yet impossible ways. A slip on the planks, a lost item, or a sudden scream seems to manifest as a memory that plays out in the fog. Witnesses often describe a feeling of stepping into someone else's sorrow, watching events unfold without the ability to intervene. As though the bridge is a stage for memories unwilling to fade. The bridge's construction adds to its eerie atmosphere. Narrow planks creak underfoot, swaying slightly with each step. While the railings, damp and moss-covered, provide a frame for the dense mist curling along the water below. Every movement of the wind seems amplified here, producing whispers that are indistinguishable from the natural sounds of the forest. These subtle auditory cues heighten the sense of tension, drawing attention to every shifting shadow and every ripple in the fog. Figures in the mist are described differently by each observer. Some see them as dark silhouettes, unformed but humanoid in shape. While others glimpse faint features and clothing, suggesting lives once lived. They do not interact directly, but their presence is keenly felt. A reminder that the bridge holds more than its physical structure. Travelers often report an emotional resonance. A mix of sorrow, longing, and curiosity. As if the unseen companions are reaching out in ways that transcend time. The forest surrounding Mistfall Bridge intensifies its haunting. The fog shifts through the branches, forming shapes that disappear when approached, while the river below reflects fragmented light and shadow. The river below reflects fragmented light and shadow. Even during calm nights, the environment feels alive, each sound and movement blending seamlessly with the stories that linger here. Each sound and movement blending seamlessly with the stories that linger here. Visitors often speak of a compulsion to move steadily across the bridge. Standing still too long brings a sensation of pressure, subtle yet undeniable, as if the bridge itself is urging passage while allowing observation. Cold drafts sweep across the deck unpredictably, sometimes brushing against skin or clothing, adding to the impression of an unseen presence. The combination of movement, mist, and atmosphere makes it impossible to remain detached, drawing travelers into a story written by both the past and the environment. Sounds carry differently here than elsewhere. A single footstep echoes for an unnaturally long distance. Whispers seem to originate from multiple points at once. And the water below produces soft, irregular ripples. Every auditory element reinforces the idea that Mistfall Bridge is more than wood and nails. It is a repository of memory, echoing the experiences and tragedies of those who have crossed before. As darkness deepens, the fog thickens to a near-solid presence, enveloping the bridge and obscuring the forest beyond. Figures appear and vanish with increasing frequency. Footsteps become more distinct. And the echoes of past events grow stronger. The experience is immersive and continuous, leaving visitors with the impression that they have walked not only across a bridge, but across time and memory itself. Mistfall Bridge stands as a testament to the blending of natural beauty and lingering sorrow. Its narrow planks, mist-covered railings, and dense surroundings create an environment that is simultaneously enchanting and unsettling. Those who cross carry with them the memory of fleeting figures, echoed footsteps, and the subtle impression of tragedies repeating quietly, over and over, within the fog. It is a place where the living and the unseen converge, where curiosity draws travelers forward, and where the bridge itself holds the stories of countless souls in perpetual suspension. Deadwood Crossing stretches over a winding river in the forests of Missouri, a place that has long held a reputation for danger and mystery. The bridge dates back to the logging era, when timber workers frequently crossed its planks carrying heavy loads. Numerous accidents occurred over the years, and the river below claimed lives with quiet inevitability. Today, travelers speak of an atmosphere that carries the weight of history, as though the bridge itself remembers the tragedies that unfolded on and around it. Ghostly figures are often reported along the bridge. Some appear crouched, as if burdened by unseen weight, while others stand motionless, observing without acknowledgement. These apparitions are rarely seen clearly, often appearing at the edge of vision before dissolving into mist or shadow. The figures are silent yet imposing, And their presence leaves a lingering sensation that the bridge is alive with memories. Echoes of the past imprinted on the wood and river below. Visitors frequently notice sudden drops in temperature as they cross. A warm summer day can shift abruptly into a chill that seeps through clothing and skin, carrying with it a tangible sense of dread. It is not merely cold, it is heavy, oppressive, and accompanied by the unshakable feeling that something unseen watches from the corners of the forest or from beneath the planks. This sensation grows more intense at night, when shadows lengthen. At night, faint cries echo from the water below. They are brief and distant, almost imperceptible at first, but they linger in the mind long after they fade. Some describe the sound as a sorrowful wail, a lament carried by the wind across the bridge and into the surrounding trees. Others hear fragmented voices, as if multiple people are calling from beneath the surface, their words lost to time and water. The cries reinforce the feeling that the river and bridge are repositories of memory, places where the past continues to assert itself in subtle yet undeniable ways. The bridge itself is a mixture of wood and iron, weathered by decades of exposure to the elements. Planks creak and shift underfoot, some warped and uneven, creating a natural rhythm that blends with the sounds of wind and water. Railings lean slightly, corroded by rain and age, offering guidance and a reminder of the bridge's precarious history. Each step taken on Deadwood Crossing is measured and deliberate, as if the structure commands respect and attention from those who traverse it. Surrounding the bridge, the forest adds to the atmosphere of isolation. Leaves rustle in the wind, echoing softly like distant whispers, while fallen logs and tangled undergrowth create hidden shapes that play tricks on the eye. The environment heightens awareness, encouraging travelers to move cautiously and to notice every subtle shift in sound, light, and temperature. During the day, the bridge conveys a quiet intensity. Sunlight filters through the trees, illuminating sections of the planks while leaving others in deep shadow. The river below reflects light and shadow in shifting patterns, creating fleeting images that can appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. Even without the ghostly figures, cold drops, or distant cries, the bridge retains a sense of history and purpose, a reminder that every inch has witnessed countless crossings and countless stories. Night amplifies every element of Deadwood Crossing. Shadows deepen and lengthen, cold pockets grow sharper. And the cries from the water seem closer, carried on the still night air. The forest becomes denser and more mysterious. Every sound magnified, every movement of branches or leaves imbued with significance. Walking across the bridge after dark is an immersive experience, where the natural and supernatural seem intertwined. The history of the bridge continues to resonate with those who visit. Stories of accidents, lost lives, and unexplained sightings have passed down through generations, shaping perceptions and expectations. This history combined with the sensory experiences of cold shadow and sound creates a powerful impression that Deadwood Crossing is more than a mere structure. It is a threshold, a place where the past is felt as vividly as the present, and where memory and presence coexist in quiet tension. Deadwood Crossing endures as a witness to its own history. Each crossing carries echoes of those who came before, of tragedies and moments of quiet observation that linger invisibly on the bridge and in the air around it. Figures, the chills, the cries, and the sounds of shifting wood combine to form an experience that is haunting, immersive, and unforgettable. It is a place where travelers are reminded of the passage of time, the weight of memory, and the thin veil that separates the ordinary world from something older, darker, and more mysterious. Here, over the twisting river and beneath the canopy of ancient trees, every step taken, every creak of the planks, every shadow glimpsed or cry heard, reminds those who cross that this is a space where the echoes of history linger. It is a place of reflection, of caution, and of awe, where the forest, the river, and the bridge converge to create an experience that is both haunting and unforgettable. A crossing into memory and mystery. Phantom Span in New York stretches across a wide river, its aged structure a testament to decades of history, engineering, and tragedy. The bridge has witnessed countless events, from routine crossings to catastrophic accidents, each leaving an imprint that seems to linger long after the living have passed. Travelers who approach the span speak of an atmosphere that shifts subtly, a weight in the air that hints at stories untold and presences unseen. During daylight, Phantom Span appears unassuming, its steel beams and wooden planks solid underfoot. The river below glimmers in the sun, reflecting the arches and cables in fractured patterns. Yet those who pause to observe often sense that the bridge carries more than its physical form. Shadows lengthen along the deck, and a quiet tension seems to hum through the structure. The air carries a chill, a whisper of memory and warning that unsettles even the most composed visitor. Figures have been reported along the railings, standing motionless and staring silently across the water. Travelers describe the shapes as faint yet tangible, a presence that watches and waits. The figures seem to mirror the tragedies that occurred on the bridge, from accidents to suicides, their stillness both unnerving and sorrowful. They are reminders that Phantom Span is more than a crossing, it is a repository of memory and lingering spirit. Footsteps follow travelers along the deck, echoing on wood and steel where no one else is present. The sound is deliberate, measured, and impossible to locate. Whispers drift on the wind, sometimes soft and unintelligible, at other times distinct warnings that seem to caution against lingering. Some travelers report a sensation of being guided, a subtle pressure at the back or side, as if unseen hands are encouraging movement off the bridge. The effect is both chilling and protective, a reminder that the spirits may not wish harm but insist on respect. The bridge itself is imposing, with beams and arches that frame the river in stark, angular lines. At night, the darkness enhances the feeling of isolation. Fog or mist rises from the water, shrouding the deck and softening the edges of the structure. The river below becomes a dark mirror, reflecting the faint glow of distant lights and the silhouettes of the bridge's unseen watchers. The environment is immersive, each sound, shadow, and movement reinforcing the impression that the bridge is alive with memory. Travelers who linger often report physical sensations that defy explanation. A sudden chill runs along the spine. An unseen touch brushes an arm or shoulder. And a low vibration seems to travel through the wooden planks beneath the feet. These experiences are fleeting, yet vivid, leaving a lasting impression long after the crossing is complete. Some interpret these touches as warnings, guiding them safely to the other side. Others feel a more mournful presence, an echo of the lives intertwined with the bridge's history. Phantom Span is a convergence of past and present. Each accident, each tragedy, leaves a mark that can be sensed by those who are attuned to the subtle shifts in the atmosphere. The bridge holds a memory of human emotion, fear, sorrow, caution, and reflection. These emotions linger in the air, shaping the experiences of those who cross, and creating an environment where the living and the unseen coexist. The river below adds to the haunting nature of the bridge. Its surface can appear calm, yet it conceals depth and darkness. Sounds travel across the water, carrying the faint echo of footsteps and whispers. Reflections on the surface distort perception, suggesting movement where none exists, or revealing forms that vanish with a second glance. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile stimuli heightens the sense of presence, making each crossing an encounter with history and the unknown. Time on Phantom Span feels different. Minutes stretch and compress. Shadows shift unexpectedly. Lanterns or faint glows appear at intervals, drifting across the deck in a manner that is both mesmerizing and disorienting. Travelers describe a sense of guidance intertwined with caution. A feeling that the spirits of the bridge are aware of every movement and intention. The environment is carefully balanced between intrigue and unease, compelling visitors to move with awareness and respect. By dawn, the fog lifts, the shadows fade, and the air returns to its ordinary quality. Yet those who have crossed the bridge carry the memory of the night, the silent figures, the footsteps behind them, the whispers of caution, and the subtle guidance of unseen hands. Phantom Span is more than a historic crossing, it is a bridge between worlds, where memory, history, and lingering spirit converge. Travelers leave with a sense of awe, respect, and quiet unease, knowing that the span holds stories and presences that continue to watch, wait, and remember. Its structure, the river below, and the echoes of past tragedies create a unique environment where the living encounter the remnants of the unseen. Every step along the deck is a step further into the heart of the bridge's haunting legacy, leaving those who traverse it with an indelible impression of the bridge's haunting legacy. Bridges are meant to connect places and people, but these haunted bridges connect the living to the dead. They carry memories of tragedy, loss, and restless spirits. Every footstep echoes with history, every shadow may be more than it seems. The wind carries whispers, the fog hides figures, and the darkness holds eyes that never close. The darkness holds eyes that never close. Next time you approach a bridge at night, pause and consider what may linger there unseen. Would you dare to cross a haunted bridge alone, knowing the spirits may still be waiting? Some doors once opened, and some paths once taken, never truly close. The bridge beckons, a threshold to the unknown.